Ladies and gentlemen, to do the keynote address, our Prime Minister, the Honorable Dickon Mitchell.
Good morning, and thank you, Neela. I don't know if it's fair to me to speak after the creatives. For one, Neela could ad-lib as she goes along. She can act. Mr. Romain, I noticed in his speech had all his fancy stuff, PowerPoint presentation. And I guess I'm just a politician, so you'd have to bear with me. It is only a speech. And I have a history sometimes, like my dear colleague, of messing up the protocol list. So let me take my time and making sure that I read what is before me. And I want to start by recognizing Her Excellency, our Acting Governor General and President of the Senate, Dr. the Honorable Decima Williams, who I believe in her own right is a very, very good creative. So she's here both, I think, in her official, but also I believe in her personal capacity as well. I have to make sure that I skip myself. And then I go on to, and that reminds me, Mr. Roman from time to time does say to me, if politics feel that I could be a good comic, which means I think he finds me funny, which means he laughs at me, not at the joke. But if that's all I have, then I will take that as a talent. So the Honorable Lennox Andrews, our Minister for the Creative Affairs, amongst many other things, the Honorable Attorney General, sorry, I will call it all the members of Cabinet, because I suppose we oftentimes don't get together like this. The Honorable Minister for Finance, Mr. Dennis Cornwall, the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs, Minister Andal, the Honorable, I'm tempted to say Energy, Bunny, but I'll give him his official title, the Honorable Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation, Honorable Andy Williams, and MP for the Great South, where we are gathered here today, the Honorable Minister Ron Redden, Minister for Culture, Youth and Sports, and I suppose the creative economy would be particularly important to our youth. Senator, the Honorable Adrian Thomas, the Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries, Forestry, and Mr. Orlando Romain, our advisor. Oh, okay. Thank you. You see, just as I said, I would almost mess up the protocol list. Yes, thank you. The Honorable Philip Telesford, Minister for Housing, Social, Community Development. Anybody else that I'm missing? No, we called the Honorable Attorney General early. Is the Minister for Education here? No, he isn't here. All right. But we'll hail up the Minister for Education nonetheless. I see Senator Cadet is here. Mr. Cadet, welcome. I was going to highlight Minister Romain, advisor to the Ministry for the Creative Economy, Director General of the OECS, Dr. Dickon Jules. I suppose I could say welcome home. To former members of Parliament who are here or who are viewing with us online, to distinguished presenters at this event over the next several days, to all of the creatives who are here and who are online, to representatives from the private sector, our special guests from the Caribbean and Latin America Development Bank, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you, and thank you for your sponsorship. All other specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to be here this morning to make brief remarks, nothing that is creative. As Minister Andrews alluded to, there's a famous quote by Victor Hugo, the great French novelist in the 19th century, which reads, and I quote, "There is nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come." The quote highlights the important fact that it is not merely the existence of an idea that makes it powerful, but rather the moment when that idea becomes ripe for implementation, when society is ready to embrace the idea and to make it a reality. It is this moment that the idea becomes a force that can move mountains. Today, May 10th, 2023, our time has come for new ideas. We have embarked on a season as a society, the season of the creative spirit. I believe that spirit is alive and well in every person in this room today, alive and well in every person who's viewing online, in one degree or another, passed down from our ancestors who used creativity as a mode of survival. I'm a proud product of the creative and resilient spirit of the community that I grew up in, observing the men and women of Piti Esperance in St. David's demonstrating creative ways to put bread on the table and to raise their families in trying circumstances. Their creativity found expressions in Saraka, in Susu, and in the maroon traditions of cooperation that traveled across the Atlantic with our enslaved foreparents. It was this spirit of creativity that was embedded in the DNA of our people and which enabled them to find solutions to the survival challenge they faced on a daily basis. As creatives, I encourage you to invoke this spirit and bring it to bear in your work as you hone your craft and embrace modern ways of reaching the market. Gird yourselves with the creative DNA of your ancestors and safeguard your unique view of the world. Today's event marks a milestone in my government's promise to pursue people-centered transformation, laying the foundation for resilience, empowerment, and growth. Culture and the creative economy were identified as one of the 6 priority areas in our medium-term action plan for the period 2023 to 2024. And today, this morning, and over the next several days, we are walking that walk, making our actions consistent with our declared policy. We must view today's event and the next several days within the broader context of the approach to governance that we have chosen, an approach that is bold, that is different. And indeed, this is the first time in our history that a conference of this kind is being held. Over the next 3 days, participants will have the chance to wrap their minds around key policy issues related to the entire creative industry's value chain, to include institutional support for this sector. But importantly, this gathering is about empowerment. You, the participants, should emerge from this exercise feeling stronger, feeling more confident in the creative path that you have chosen to walk in your life. By bringing together this room of creatives with all the key players in the ecosystem of the creative economy, there will be a cross-fertilization of ideas, and many creative flowers will bloom. New thinking will be embraced, and hopefully, we will walk away from these 3 days of conferencing richer in spirit and united in how we should pursue advancement of this important pillar in the transformation of Grenada. As you prepare to settle into your panel discussions and workshops, I challenge you to be honest with yourselves and to have an honest conversation about the role and your place in all of this. How will your participation in this conference help you to achieve your goals? Dare to ask yourselves and to take yourselves seriously and carve out a vision of where you want to go. I encourage all participants to embrace this opportunity to learn all that you can, acquire the skills and knowledge to become professionals, make connections through networking, and enlist the help of those who can give you a hand up. Internalize the reality. Internalize the reality that you can make a living, and internalize the reality that you can become wealthy from your God-given talent. Understand well, however, that the creative industry is a career choice for talented but hard-working individuals. And it is not a program of government handouts. Government, through a regime of concessions and other incentives, as well as training programs and other forms of institutional support, will invest in you. This country, your country, Grenada, will invest its tax dollars in you, but you will have an obligation to give Grenada a return on its investment. In other words, we ask that you work with us because we are working with you. Your success will be Grenada's success. Permit me to say a few words to corporate Grenada. Colleagues, the investment in the creative economy is a national initiative, and successful national initiatives require partnerships. I'm therefore inviting our partners in the private sector to come on board. The creative sector is worthy of your financial support, and it is worthy of your financial investment. This sector represents exciting possibilities for economic diversification, foreign exchange earnings, and gross domestic product growth. Positives for the private sector and for Grenada overall. We therefore look forward to actively partnering with you in the private sector in supporting Grenada's creative economy. The policy interventions that we are contemplating will involve initiatives not just with the private sector, but also with a wide cross-section of stakeholders. Our Office of Creative Affairs will need to work in tandem with the Grenada Cultural Foundation, the Department of Culture, the Grenada Tourism Authority, the Corporate Affairs and Intellectual Property Office, cultural industry associations, whether in visual or performing arts, film or fashion, as well as with other national bodies to ensure partnership and ownership. In our quest to build our creative economy, we also understand the need to reach out beyond the shores of Grenada. We need to hold hands and create synergies with our brothers and sisters across the region, with a view to learning from their experiences and best practices where possible. My administration is prepared to collaborate with other regional governments to create a common enabling regional environment for the creative industries. We are already working to improve the harmonization, simplification, and implementation of intra-regional trade measures aimed at deepening our regional market and making it easier for the movement of cultural workers and equipment, as well as expanding the list of professionals classified as cultural workers. We will continue to collaborate with our regional partners to conduct joint negotiations aimed at strengthening global market access for Caribbean cultural products. Colleagues, we have already seen what is possible. We should not be afraid to have big dreams. Someone once said that if our dreams are not frightening us, we are not dreaming big enough. Grenada is a branch from the tree of Caribbean civilization. We come from a tree of greatness. Our scholars have earned global acclaim for their intellect. Our athletes are world leaders. Our entertainers have broken into markets throughout the world. We have an obligation to spot and nurture the specially gifted amongst us. The next Sabrina Francis could be the little girl singing in the church choir in River Sally or Marquis or Windsor Forest. The next Mr. Killer could be the little boy jumping off the bus in Grand Roy. As we look around Grenada, we need to be aware that there are incubation points of greatness in some of the humblest and most overlooked places. We must develop the intellectual and institutional capacity to raise the gifted and talented amongst us. So to those of you who are breaking through barriers and doing well, I challenge you to look back and take others along with you as you strive to reach new frontiers. It is all about networking and collaboration. It is all about teamwork. Step out of your silos and build critical mass. Strengthen your associations and talk and walk with us. This is a time for bold, innovative approaches. Our ancestors who embraced the spirit of Saraka, Susu, and Maroon did not bequeath to us a spirit of timidity. Let your work be fresh, authentic, Grenadian. If you are a writer, do not be afraid to tell your Grenadian stories. If you are a fashion designer or a visual artist, do not be afraid to stamp Grenadian symbols on your creations. Do not win by losing yourself. Above all, do not be daunted if your initial attempts are not successful. Initial failure is often part of the learning curve to success. If you fall down, then you owe it to yourself to get up, dust yourself off, and as the dancehall artist would say, wheel and come again. I wish to conclude by congratulating the Office of the Creative Affairs, the Conference Planning Committee, and all of you who have put in the arduous work of staging this conference. I want to thank all participants, especially those of you who have come from overseas to share their vast experience and knowledge with us. On my own behalf, on behalf of the government of Grenada and the people of Grenada, I wish you success in the deliberations. I challenge you to go bold, to go brave, to embrace your creative spirit, and to unleash. Thank you.
When we get excited, all things break and fall, and I hope it still works, sir. Thank you so much, Honorable Prime Minister. Such a profound, thank you, officer. Such a profound keynote address. The Prime Minister was calling out the list of senators and ministers, and he did say sometimes he messes up. And I think he called you Mr. Cadet. So I want to recognize our senator, Senator Nealon Franklin, yeah? Look.